At his rally, again, to the extent that he talked about the pandemic at all, one of the scariest things that Donald Trump said was that he went off on his line about how we only have more cases because we have more tests, which is missing something crucial there. And he says, and so I tell them to slow down the testing. Now, he's been asked in the days since then, he was asked yesterday, were you just joking about that? Did you actually order the slowdown? And twice he refused to actually address the issue. He didn't claim he was joking. He just changed the subject. Now, this morning, he was asked once again about it, and here is what he had to say.
I don't kid. Let me just tell you, let me make it clear. We have got the greatest testing program anywhere in the world. We test better than anybody in the world. Our tests are the best in the world, and we have the most of them. By having more tests, we find more cases. But just remember this. The reason we have more cases than other countries is because our testing is so much.
Okay, so he was asked specifically, were you just kidding? And he said, I don't kid. About whether he pushed for some sort of slowdown in testing, because in his mind, the disease only exists once you identify it, which is not actually how it works.
Yeah, John, you can't get pregnant if you don't take a test. That's how that works. So, yeah, and then we just like, it's baffling because he talked about it at the rally, and this is a common narrative that we've seen emerge. We've seen early reporting that they tried to slow it down at the onset because they were worried about, spikes in cases. And ultimately, this is because they're worried about his reelection chances. So because he's so self-centered and because he's prioritizing his reelection above everything else, more people are going to have this than realize. Like, more people are going to get sick. More people are going to die. And this is going to be prolonged because of his ineptitude. And what that means is millions of more people will be out of work for longer, and we won't be able to return safely, and we won't be able to return to normalcy safely because of how inept he is and his administration is. Like, it's just going to prolong this for everybody. It's only making things worse because he's so reckless with this.
Exactly. And I want to address the substance of it, but before we jump to that, I just want to acknowledge the cycle that always happens with this sort of thing where Donald Trump says crazy thing. All of the people who are paid to defend him come out with a unified narrative. Donald Trump sets fire to the narrative. And so that has happened once again because he's now avoided responding to the were you just joking, and then you just said I don't kid. Well, he did that after 2 days of Kayleigh McEnany saying, you guys are taking him too seriously. He was just joking, as you'll see here.
Not true.
It was a comment that he made in jest. It's a comment that he made in passing, specifically with regard to the media coverage and pointing out the fact that the media never acknowledges that we have more cases because when you test more people, you find more cases.
Is it appropriate to joke about coronavirus when 120,000 people have died?
He was not joking about coronavirus. I just said he was joking about the media and their failure to understand the fact that when you test more, you also find more cases.
Okay, so he was joking, except not really, because that would be offensive, but he was joking, so you don't get to be mad at him, even though he has now come out and said, I don't kid. So she went to bat for him, and she will look, like, it doesn't matter that she looks ridiculous, she understands that's what she's getting paid for, but she does look ridiculous because he can't stick to the narrative. Like, he has gone rogue, and the best case scenario, what she was trying to set up, was he sees 120,000 dead and thinks this is an opportunity for me to do stand-up comedy. But the reality, apparently, what he wants you to believe is the reality is, no, he did in some way push for a slowdown of testing. Because again, as they both say, you only find more cases when you do more testing. I would finesse that a bit and say, you only find more cases when you do more testing and when there is more coronavirus ravaging our country. The cases are all over the place. Some areas have done a good job of getting it down, but in others it's rapidly spreading. And when they've spent the past couple of days once again trying to distract everyone with, it's all about China, China spread it to us, whatever happened originally, whatever lies China told, additional coronavirus cases are coming from America, from everywhere. When you can't get mad at China when Vegas right now is fully open and booming, and people are walking around without masks. When Texas just yesterday, Greg Abbott said maybe people should start wearing masks again after the cases have been going up and up for a couple of weeks, and they did literally nothing, where you can go to supermarkets without masks and just mingle with people and all of that. Like, it's time to take it seriously. Not jokes, not slowdowns or whatever. Like, should he be investigated for that? Sure. All the stuff that he did that made our reaction so much weaker, that drove up the death toll, should certainly be investigated. But I would hope that at least now they could take it seriously, because 120,000 is already way too many. We are on track for far more now. It's just day after day, like nobody even cares anymore. Nobody cares about this pandemic. We had a great day yesterday when like 500 people died. That was our great day. Great success as the cases continue to go up.
Yeah, I think it reflects just our society's just kind of indoctrination and kind of almost like we've been groomed into accepting like everything can be given to us immediately. Mm-hmm. Like we don't have any type of long-term thinking around these types of issues. Everything is just solved in a news cycle or a week. Mm-hmm. You know, we haven't had this long-term existential crisis in generations. So now we've got people who have just been, you know, conditioned into wanting instant gratification for everything, where you can get food delivered to you within the hour. You can get everything you want delivered within 2 days. They just, you know, now all of a sudden you have no end in sight for this thing, and people can't comprehend it, and people don't want to think about it. So after, you know, a distraction with a national uprising, people just don't want to talk about it anymore. People have moved on to something else. They want to return to normal, and they can't accept that this might be with us for like a year, because we might not have a vaccine for a year. They just can't comprehend it, and this is how it manifests. It's people just insisting that we reopen. We have to get back to normal, and, you know, maybe wear a mask, but in some cases in the South, no. There are some states that are deliberating going back to phase 1. So you might see a little bit of a regression there, but overall you're going to see the more defiant communities and the more defiant states just resist any type of regression on that front, and that just leads to more cases and ultimately more deaths.
Yeah. I'm sure, Jordan, you've, you know, long ago come to grips with this, but like if you want to be in this thing that we do in whatever form, you are going to be just continually disappointed with your country and with its leadership and all of that. But like the reaction to coronavirus, there was like 2 weeks where, maybe 3, where too late we came together and pretty much everyone agreed. I've seen the charts now of even right-wingers saying you gotta stay home, you gotta socially distance and all that. And then the right-wing media got involved. And Tucker Carlson and, you know, Sean Hannity and all of them made it a partisan thing to protect yourself from disease. And the lockdown started to fall apart almost immediately. And now we as a country, overall, have surrendered. There's some places that are doing a good job, even some places that are increasing, you know, like mask requirements and things like that happen in California. But to the extent that a country can surrender to a disaster, we have done that. And the cases are going to continue to rise, and God only knows what the final death count will be. But the utter disappointment, the final ultimate disappointment is, no matter what it is, it won't matter nearly as much as it should have. Like, Trump fans don't give one damn that 120,000 people have died. It doesn't sink in. They cared more about the 4 from Ebola, you know? Like, it just doesn't matter, and that is so utterly depressing to think that even if like Trump gets voted out or whatever, we're still going to have a country that is that ready to quit in the face of a disaster. And remember, we have other disasters that we know about that are coming. Ones related to coronavirus, including the rent and evictions and foreclosures crisis. But also, we still hypothetically would like to do something about climate change. And look at what has been normalized. 40,000 people a month dying. Who cares? You know, it's political. I don't want to get political. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.